Hello, welcome back. The first part of the video, we spoke about classification and various types of passive transport of small molecules. In the mind map book, it is concisely written in the form of a flowchart, starting with small molecules, large molecules down here, passive transport, active transport, simple diffusion, facilitated diffusion. Active transport again, pumps, that is primary, co-transport is secondary. Large molecules, endocytosis, exocytosis, pinocytosis. We have a beautiful diagram here to explain the diffusion, simple diffusion, facilitated diffusion, the ping pong mechanism, and uniport, symport, and antiport. Let's just go to the mind map to see how well we have understood. Passive diffusion, it's a simple process, depends on concentration gradient, down concentration gradient, energy independent. Facilitated diffusion, it is comparable but faster than simple diffusion. Again, down concentration gradient, energy independent, carrier mediated, ping pong mechanism. Now we will go to the active transport. Active transport is carrier mediated, against concentration gradient, and energy dependent. Carrier mediated, against concentration gradient, and energy dependent. These transport molecules will transport two molecules at a time, one from outside to inside and the other from inside to outside. So they are also known as antiports. Two molecules in opposite direction, antiport. So, and since it is against concentration gradient, energy is required. It is like this. When water flows from on top of the hill to down, it flows down without any problem. But if you want to send water from down to up, you have to give it energy. You have to pump the water. It cannot flow up by itself. Same way, when a molecule goes against concentration gradient, it needs energy for it to move from a region of lower concentration to a region of higher concentration. As a result, when molecules are getting transferred from lower concentration to higher concentration, ATP is hydrolyzed to ADP and inorganic phosphate, and the energy released is used for the transport of these ions. Now, about 30% of the cell's energy requirement goes for the active transport. Every cell has active transport, and quite a bit of energy goes for the active transport of molecules. Where does active transport occur in our body? All the sodium-potassium ATPases or sodium-potassium pumps are active transport. You also have proton sodium pumps in the gastric mucosal cells where H+ ions are released for synthesis of HCl. So these are the examples for the active transport. Now, since energy, that is hydrolysis of ATP, is required directly for the transport of the molecules, this is also called as primary active transport. Then, what is secondary active transport? Secondary active transport is not directly dependent on ATP for energy. Then why does it need energy? Now let's learn this with the help of studying how glucose is absorbed in the intestinal mucosal cells. On the basolateral surface of the cell membrane, on the basolateral sides of the cell membrane, is present the sodium-potassium pump, which I have already described under active transport. The sodium-potassium pump takes 3 sodiums from inside the cell to outside and 2 potassiums from outside the cell to inside, that is, both of them against concentration gradient. ECF major cation is sodium, intracellular major cation is potassium. So, when these two are going against concentration gradient, ATP is hydrolyzed, ADP and inorganic phosphate is produced. Therefore, it is possible for these ions to move. What is the purpose of this? The purpose of this sodium-potassium pump is to keep the intracellular sodium levels low. Intracellular sodium levels are maintained low by the sodium-potassium pump. But if sodium-potassium pump has to continue its work, it needs sodium ions. So where will the sodium ions come from? They come from the intestinal lumen. Concentration of glucose, galactose, because of digestion in the intestine, and sodium ions is high in the intestinal lumen. So, present on the luminal surface of the membrane is a second transport molecule called as SGLT1, sodium glucose transporter 1, SGLT1. Sodium glucose transporter has got two binding sites. The first binding site is for sodium. When it binds to sodium, its affinity for either glucose or galactose will increase. So, glucose will bind to this carrier, so it becomes glucose-sodium carrier complex. A ternary complex means a complex having three components: sodium, carrier, glucose. Now, because the level of sodium is less inside the cell, the sodium will be released into the cell by this diffusion. When sodium leaves the carrier from the ternary complex, the affinity of the carrier for the glucose also comes down, and that also is released into the cell. So now both sodium and glucose have entered the cell. Sodium will be utilized by sodium-potassium pump. Glucose, on the other hand, has to move into the ECF. Now, this molecule, the second transport molecule, SGLT1, is a sodium glucose symport. It is transporting two molecules in the same direction from outside to inside. Therefore, it is a sodium glucose symport. Now that the glucose has come inside the cell, it has to be transported from the cell to the ECF. So for that, there is a third transport molecule called as GLUT2, glucose transporter 2, on the basolateral surface of the cell membrane, and it transports only glucose from inside to outside, from inside the cell to ECF. So this is, you guessed it right, this is a uniport. Now here, energy is required for sodium-potassium pump. But because of this, sodium concentrations are maintained low, and the sodium glucose symport is capable of bringing in sodium and glucose into the cell. So indirectly, the transport of glucose needs the ATP hydrolysis by sodium-potassium pump. That is why this type of transport is called as secondary active protein. Not a direct requirement of ATP, indirect requirement, but energy is needed for the transport of glucose. So this is about the secondary active protein. Now these pumps, the primary active transport, can be inhibited by certain drugs, molecules called as fluorescein, and it is used for the, it is used for research purposes. You want to inhibit sodium-potassium pump, treat the cells with fluorescein, and sodium-potassium pump will get inhibited or it will be stopped. There are certain other drugs like Valinomycin and Gramicidin. Now these drugs are called as Ionophores. Why are they called as ionophores? These drugs can lodge themselves into the cell membrane and then they will allow certain ions to pass. For example, Valinomycin will lodge into the membrane and allow potassium ions to pass. So, since as you have seen, all the ions are dependent upon a gradient. So, when potassium ions are transported freely without any control by this valinomycin, the gradient is lost. Electrochemical gradient is not there. Therefore, the transport system cannot take place. Similarly, there is another drug called Gramicidin, which also lodges in the membrane and allows ions to pass. Valinomycin acts like a channel, so it allows potassium to go through it and dissipates the electrochemical gradient. Gramicidin dissipates the gradient by allowing all molecules to pass. So this is the active transport and the drugs. Let's just go back to the mind map and recapitulate all about the active transport. Active transport occurs against concentration gradient from a lower region to higher region. It is energy dependent, carrier mediated. Two types: primary, ATP hydrolysis is needed directly for transport. Example, sodium-potassium ATPase. Secondary, ATP hydrolysis is required indirectly. Sodium, glucose, symport or co-transport is an example for secondary active transport of glucose. Again, based on the number of molecules and the direction in which they are transported, you have uniport, one molecule, one direction. Example, transport of glucose, we have seen now the GLUT2 and two molecules in the same direction. We have seen sodium and glucose getting transported from intestinal lumen to cell, and then two molecules in opposite direction, antiport. We have seen the sodium-potassium pump and also the transporter which transports bicarbonate and chloride across the RBC membrane. So, here is the mind map that is present in the mind map book. And these are the diagrams to go with it. Something that is 4 to 5 pages in a textbook has been concised into a single colorful mind map, easy to recapitulate and very pleasing to the eyes to study. There are beautiful colorful diagrams to go with the mind map to make some concepts clear. Would you want to know more about the mind map books? Please contact us at this WhatsApp number and you can get all information about the mind map book. This biochemistry mind map book can be utilized by all biology students who have biochemistry in it and all the students of health science faculties like medical, dental, pharmacy, physiotherapy, nursing, naturopathy, homeopathy, Ayurveda. Anybody can use this mind map book and make concepts easy for yourself. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. Thank you.